BC. And what we want to do is focus on the topic today, fashionizing the weave. Can design play a lead role in promoting Indian textiles and apparel globally? What I want to do is to get Mr. Gaur to start off by setting the context for the discussion. I'll then come to my panelists for brief opening remarks, and I really want all of you to participate. I do have a few questions, but it would be great if all of you join in on the debate, because this is a subject which is extremely important, and I'm sure with your varied and diverse set of experiences in this hall, we'll have a fantastic discussion. Mr. Gaur, over to you.
Thank you, Siddharth, and a very good morning. At the outset, let me admit, I am neither a design person or a fashion person. So the perspective you will get from me is not one of the insider, but it will be an outside-in perspective from a business lens. What I would say is, what I look upon as the opportunities and where are the gaps, and what we need to do about that. If you will not agree with me that India has all the credentials and the building blocks to be a global leader in textiles, be it your historical legacy, the heritage we have. I am told India at one time ruled the entire world. The unique weaves and designs which we have 29 states, but more than 120 weaves, and a very outstanding ones. I mean, there is an anecdote, somebody told me that once Aurangzeb admonished a daughter for wearing a very transparent kind of a robe, and then she was wearing a muslin robe, and she said that there are 7 layers in that. That's the kind of finesse we can bring to the fabric and the fiber. Look at the natural resources. Every natural resource we have a lot of cotton, we have a lot of viscose, we are the largest viscose producer in the world, we have polyester capacity, every fiber we have. We have cheap labor, but there are issues attached with that, but we have every building block. But there is also a fact that we have not realized even a fraction of our potential. As we speak, we are less than 5% of the global trade in textiles. Now, what is the big question is, where is the missing link? Why are we not able to convert this potential to performance? And I believe that the theme of today is a missing link. And I think it's time for us to relook at our whole strategy of building our global exports and presence. We cannot play the cost game, because we can't be another Bangladesh or Ethiopia. India is a developing country. The incomes are going up, aspirations are going up, so we can't play the cost game. We have to move to the value game, adding value. And then design is the best way, the design and branding. People who capture maximum value are the guys who are able to build brands, have world-class designs, be it automotive, be it textile, be it iPhones, be it mobile. The design is the key play. And I think I have got from the distinguished members of this panel, we have the world-beating designers. They have made it big in the world, but still we are not at the tipping point. What we need to debate is why, despite having all the talent, why we are not able to become a large player in the world. And my belief is we need to build an ecosystem. Nobody can work as an isolation. So you have designers, you have industry, but design, innovation, technology, and our unique skills, the handloom and artisan skills, need to synergize to build a tipping point like what Italy has done. What France, we have to become Italy or France of the world. We have to become a design capital. And I think what we need to do today is how do we bring together this discrete elements of the value chain, build a synergy, and see how India can get back to old splendor. The government is committed. I think they want to take our great skills to the world. They are all talking about how do we reclaim this old splendor. So I think let's work in unison and see how we can lay a path ahead. And I always believe we must first decide where we want to play and how we want to win. And that's what Paras will do.
Thank you very much. And several important points that Mr. Gaur has made, and I'm just going to sort of repeat them. India was used to clothe the world, and perhaps if you go back at least into imperial history, and the large quantities that were exported from India would absolutely justify your remark. But the most important remark, and which leads me to a question which I'm going to pose to my panelists briefly, but I'll get them to first make opening remarks, is can a poor or a developing country with a very large people who are still at subsistence levels be a design hub? And I want you to think about that question, provoke a debate on that, because I believe that even if you are poor, if you go around this country, people who don't even yet, unfortunately, live in pakka houses, in concrete houses, go there at festival time and you'll see beautiful rangoli designs. I think color, design, appreciation of the aesthetic value of what nature provides us, natural fibers, natural dyes, is something that is intrinsic to the way of life that exists in India across cultures, religions and communities. And perhaps Suket, for a country with 5,000 years of recorded history, Mr. Gaur spoke about 120 weaves. I'm sure there might be even some more. I come from what is now the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, and if you include Ladakh, I can think through designs and patterns which are unique to districts there, and that's the kind of fascinating country that we live in. So, get over to you to try and make sense for us for today's debate.
This is one topic that I think of a lot. I care about a lot. I live it daily. And I've also done my fair share of whatever I can do. Not enough, certainly. I'd like to do a lot more. But to at least put us on the global map with a sheer determination, using our heritage and presenting it in new format with the help of design. We do have the building blocks, yes. But as soon as you start naming countries like Italy, France, I'd like to add in Japan, there's a huge sense of pride in being an Italian in Japanese. How much pride have we, not jingoistically, but really instilled in our generations about being Indian? If that pride was there, then a plumber, when he is fixing a pipe and it's half an inch off the mark, he'd not say chalta hai. He'd take pride in that. I come from a culture, I come from a background where every millimeter matters. And this was a place where every millimeter did matter, and you can actually see that when you see our architecture, ancient architecture, and you see that the first ray of the sun actually hits the sanctum sanctorum. And that can only happen when you're careful about the minutest of details. That's something that a culture with pride can dispel mediocrity or mediocrity. I think we celebrate mediocrity at every level. As soon as someone says weaves bachao, weaver bachao, handloom bachao, from again the aspect of guilt in saving that weave and weaver, we get into the bed jar and we again promote mediocrity. We used to clothe the world, but we used to clothe the elite part of the world because India was very, very prosperous then. Everybody in India was almost elite, or at least had the highest income at all stratas of society. There was no oppressor and oppressed to that extent which we are told. If it were, then we wouldn't be 40% of global economy. 40% of the global economy can only happen if the society as a whole was functioning pretty well. If there were oppressor and oppressed at that time, we wouldn't be doing 40% of the global trade. So that's something that we do need to realize, find out where we were going right then. We've already gone to town with whatever we've gone wrong in last 200, 400, 500 years. We know the worst parts of our culture and our society. We already know it. And there's a huge effort happening at the social level. And if you say, no, there's not enough happening, each one of us at our own house is thinking about caste, is thinking about this. How can you say there's not enough happening? Everyone is scared to use the word caste because we know how bad it is. And yet we believe, or we are made to believe, that enough is not happening. So enough is happening. We need to have that faith. And then we need to start celebrating where the perfection, or how the perfection was achieved. And yes, he just mentioned that we cannot be the factory of the world. We can't produce for the masses. We never did produce for the masses. Our textiles were the highest quality. Globally, the elite used to wear Indian textiles. And we will continue to do that. We can still do that, provided a handloom is of the quality it used to be 500 years back. So we need to innovate. We can't be, oh, just because it's handloom, you got to buy it. You need to put pressure on the weaver to produce the best quality of handloom. You can't just guilt trip people into buying just because it is handloom and whatever shoddy quality it might be. No. We need to celebrate the weave. You celebrate the weaver automatically gets celebrated. What we end up doing is we end up celebrating people and their mediocrities, and we forget about the thing that we are proud of them for. Weavers get their livelihood because of the weave. We don't celebrate the weave, we celebrate the weaver. We romanticize the weaver. So the focus has to go back to the product. The focus has to go back to the quality. Focus has to go back to abolishing mediocrity. And that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Wonderful points, and very clearly, Suket, you've hit it on the nail. Warm welcome to Reena Dhaka. Thank you very much. We just started, and Mr. Gaur here and Suket have made their opening remarks. I'll come to you very briefly. I want to go across to Rahul for his remarks, setting the context. The key takeaway that I got from Suket's opening remarks, where he spoke about the guilt trip, and the question really is it about taste? Can we get the world to adopt and adapt to our tastes, or do we have to change? Even as we celebrate our heritage, does heritage need to evolve in a sense, in a design sense, for the world to adopt? Rahul, over to you.
Yeah, I agree with Suket. He really hit bullseye. But yeah, I want to add on a few points. We are a very unique country. India is very unique. And diversity is so beautiful here. We have variety of food, languages, and so the textile. And we don't pay much attention to the ground level, where we should be focusing on. We should have a textile designer sign there. You know, our weaves are beautiful, but the weavers, they still lack a lot of knowledge. I mean, we are still practicing the age-old thing. If we really want to go global, then we have to evolve the right trained artisan, technicians, designers who can actually help to make the end product, which will make point to the international market. We also have to improvise our infrastructure network, the custom policies, the government policies, the credit facilities. You know, I think these are the pointers we have to focus on. I mean, more or less we all have discussed them, but these are the key pointers, I guess, which will take us a little way beyond, I mean, where we are standing right now. I mean, we have to focus on more of textile parks. That will really help. Yeah, I mean, that's about it.
Thanks very much. India is exotic in a sense, and perhaps the point that you made, adding on to what Suket said, weavers lack the knowledge, and therefore perhaps a debate at that level: do they lack technology, do they lack access, or is there perhaps a situation which we see in several sectors where people are moving out of that traditional profession, Mr. Gaur, into newer professions because the younger generation, the present generation, doesn't want to do what their forefathers did. Perhaps that is also one of the key human and labor elements involved apart from the laws. Reena, over to you now for the context. The debate is obviously centered around what can we do to evolve, and Suket said we cannot force buyers on a guilt trip of buying handloom stroke Indian just because of the fact that it's handloom. He spoke about getting back to quality that we were known for. Over to you.
I appreciate both your remarks, Suket and Rahul, because both are true. It is a fact that a lot of handloom, in the name of handloom, or like we say, like as a woman I used to grow up with, in the name of a sari, so we can do anything when we really wear a sari. But if I would choose to wear a short skirt, my whole equation changes, my perception changes. So I think I'll go with both, because in my life, what I have seen with the associations I've had with weaving and its related opportunities, there of course are very different schools of weaving, and some schools are preferred by the designers. Like I know Chanderi as a belt is really popular with the designers, and I believe as a result of the interest in it, the village is organized, the distribution is organized, the deliveries are organized, and it's user friendly and perhaps price friendly. But like I have a region from the Ministry of Textiles, which is Kota, handed over to me for development. Kota is 100% organic cotton yarn they use. But like right next to my weaving center, which is the government's weaving center, there is a room given out to a printer. So the same Kota sari, which the weaver gives to me at 5,000 to 6,000, because fair enough, he takes a month or at least 15 days to weave one. There is a very similar clone for just 450 rupees. So within us is also two markets. We also have our clone market, which is prospering actually. The bottom of the pyramid, as you know, is really doing well. But it is taking inspiration from the weaves. It is taking inspiration from the originals. So I'm of a belief that certain crafts, as Suket said, are for the exceptional. Handloom was never really, the weavers were always patronized by the old big families or the Rajas to create these saris. Like when I was doing a story on Paitan, it was like there was drought that year in Maharashtra, and in that black, thick, volcanic soil, there was one thatched hut, and this man, like in a David Lean movie, was weaving a border of red gold zari in a dhoti, like dressed like the Mahatma, but very beat and bushed up, and it was really hot. And I asked him, I said, what is the price of this? He said 90,000 rupees. And he doesn't need any business. He has his, the old families which commission him for his craft. I just feel that there is a lot of, obviously populations have grown, generations have come. In my opinion, you purists may not think of me as a right person for it, but in my opinion, like once I did a production for a international buyer of mine of a silver handloom zari. But we would have lost the order if we had given the handloom pricing. We would have lost even on quality control because of the slabs, the than is small. But we found a way out in it. We put a power loom, like a generator, onto a loom, and we got our, we did about our 5,000 or 10,000 meters, but we wouldn't have done it without it. And there was a lot of income given as a result of it to the manufacturers of it. So I had to twist the pure to make it saleable for both the customer and for myself.
I have something to add. Kudos to her. It needs to be done. I don't know why she thinks I'm a purist. I'm a purist of a product, not of anything else. I think anything goes to get a beautiful, perfect product. Which if it means Palloom, then bring it on. I'm not a flag bearer or torch bearer for handloom only, because I think we are 7 billion. I don't think handloom can service all of us. So I think the machines were invented for a reason. They are here to support us, and we need to coexist than be in competition with each other. My approach to handloom is that I like to give my weavers a brief and to produce things that cannot be replicated by Palooms. And the products that I do in my Palloom, I ensure that those cannot be made in a handloom. So as a designer, I do my job of at least applying my mind onto giving the right person the right thing to do. When I give a handloom weaver the kind of products that I want to do, it gives them an extra satisfaction of knowing that there's no machine on the planet that can achieve what they are achieving, for which they can charge a fair price. There is no competition, and that same product cannot be produced at a fraction of a price and look like a better quality. And at the same time, they know that they're the only ones doing it and nobody else can achieve it. So they can charge a fair price for that. So I think machines were invented for a reason. So I think we all need to sort of recognize there were certain fabrics. Earlier, all fabrics were produced on handloom. But then the machines were invented. Now the plain weaves and the classics, they now need to go to machines. But we need to start focusing on which were those superbly intricate, amazing fabrics that were only possible to do on handloom, that are still can only be replicated on handloom. Japanese have recognized Indian weavers. French have recognized Indian weavers. Italians have recognized Indian weavers. They buy truckloads of They have billion-dollar brands globally existing which are buying fabrics from India. It's just that we don't have access to those fabrics because we as a culture, when we go to a handloom guy, well, that's it. They do a shoddy product, so we can ask for a discount. I have no problem that, oh, he's a poor guy, so you can't ask for a discount. You should ask for a discount if it is in competition with everything else. But if it's a unique product, we should also be ready to pay that money. We know that this product can only be made by this weaver and nobody else can make it, and that is when we should, instead of asking questions or saying that, oh, ये तो इतने में मिल जाएगा, नहीं मिलेगा. वो वही बना सकता है और वही कर सकता है. You better, well, we might as well be ready to pay the price. And we have a very few patrons. We don't have that culture left. We are a austerity, which I sort of think austerity clones mediocrity in the cloak of austerity celebrating society. I think that's what we need to get over.
That's an important point. I want to bring in my other panelists into the debate. But Reena, if I can just come back to you on this one point from what you were saying, and that sort of led me to this question, culture of patronage that Suket spoke about. Many decades ago, Indian products in several categories were the epitome of luxury. We see a comeback of Indian luxury, the Raj brand, so to say. But in the space that you operate in, explain to our audience here, when we travel across the world, you see that the only color that works is black. There is, of course, a certain styling aesthetic. I think it has to do with cuts, it has to do with the body type, if I say, and I'm no expert on this subject. And how do we get the world to accept the idea of design that is so unique and so Indian, a profusion of colors, styles? Do they accept it, or do they just look at us as an exotic destination and let's buy 5% of our stuff, exotic product?
No, so Suket had just mentioned that the world over the buying is happening. I believe Prada also buys out of which state, I'm trying to remember, one of the...
Is it, sorry to interrupt you, is it like part of their CSR
No,
that
no, no,
2% has to go into exotic stuff, but it's not mainstream
No,
buying that they do?
their main, this is their business model. Then there are brands like Injury, Dascoli, which are, I guess, international designers, Mochi. These are very popular brands also now, who are the buying market of a garment man or a fabric man, whether it's Louis Vuitton or whoever. They know the ins and outs of the manufacturing, the hand feel, the textile, because the person who is a go between them, they already have that knowledge. My only thing, since I have an audience, is I'm not say, if you want to promote weaving, if you want to talk weaving, I have really gone as a designer since the past 10 or 12 textile ministers, as a bouquet clapper or whatever, to go out and give out a little bit of speech and to be a photo opera. But I got no return out of it, and neither did that weaver who we were discussing. The real reason I saw over my years of work was because we never meet the weaver who is in need. The designer who is in need because he needs to innovate, as you said, international designs. As he said, he has 2 skills of, schools of manufacturing. How do we get that right price, right person? Is because we get only the master weavers. They are the middlemen. We never, ever meet the poor starving person. I'm starving also for him, because I need him in my life. I need to bring a product which I can experiment with without having a fear of higher costs, and I'm able to afford him, and I can pass it on to my client at a reasonable price if I want to. But I can't, because I'm never accessible to him. It is a domain, it's like a mafia. They don't let you through. I mean, I haven't lived in the villages like you boys perhaps, so maybe that's why I don't know more. But this has been my experience since 10-15 years.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. See, the thing is, yes, it is very, very difficult to. It took me ages to actually find the right weavers. It was like she said, it's very, very difficult, impossible. The weavers never come out. So I really got lucky in terms of there's this one person who represents my weavers who is a weaver himself and a true weaver. He's not the master or the presidential award winner master weaver. I asked him that, I am more comfortable designing while your weaving is going on, so can I sort of come to the village and see where the weaving is happening so that I can. He welcomed me. He welcomed me to his own house. He emptied his room where I could actually sleep. Thank God he had a Western toilet, so I could actually sort of live there for a week. And ever since then, I've actually been going back. And similarly, once you kind of visited one region, you know how to find another weaver from another region. So, and similarly, I found another weaver in Telangana, and now I've found a similar weaver in Banaras. And luckily, I've been able to sort of, because of that one little incident, once you break the pattern, you know how to break the pattern everywhere. And luckily I've managed to do it, and I'm not scared of getting my hands dirty. It is very, very difficult. It is very, very basic going and living in a village. I mean, when living in a city, I'm not used to that kind of life anymore. It used to be fresh air. I died. But there's some magical work happening there. You just sort of need to again push the weavers into just remembering what their forefathers and grandparents used to do. There's a huge amount of research that all textile historians have conducted and have archived. UK has one of the biggest Indian textile libraries there. We have lots and lots of collectors here in India. We have loads and loads of books where we can actually find references of the kind of quality India used to produce. And I just think that we need to reintroduce the weavers to that quality, and designers need to just reinterpret the designs and bring some newness, infuse some newness. वो ethnic and costume कब तक चलाओगे यार? वो नहीं चल सकता. I mean, elephants, camels and paisleys मतलब India हो गया.
Exactly.
That's something. I mean, we have a lot more than that. I mean,
that's an important point. Mr. Gaur, we are a lot more than that. And listening to all of you here, and Rahul, please feel free to jump in before I get to the audience. By the way, if you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll try and get a mic across to you.
I will.
Yeah, sure, I'll come to you. Mr. Gaur, the point is, so what do we stand for? You made a very important point. We don't play the cost arbitrage game any longer. I think if this were a panel of the software industry, you would pretty much hear the same thing, quality. If elephants and camels cannot be what we stand for in design and aesthetic terms and appeal to the customer terms, what can we stand for, given the fact, and I say this, you all have said it, but I'll say it far more clearly, and the only journalist on the panel, Rina referred to that, successive governments come and go, there is some amount of stuff that happens, but a large amount of it is lip service, because governments by their very nature cannot work at the level of villages and villagers and artisans and get them to upskill. Given that, what can we stand for? Next 10 years, what can we stand for as a country in this sector?
See, I think we have identified the issues very rightly. They have been known all along. I think if you were to see what possible solutions can be, and if you look at it, there are cultural issues and structural issues. I think as an industry, we can talk structure easier than the culture. And I think what Sukhet very rightly said, we have to go back to the ecosystem which was creating excellence. And I have to recreate the system, and I'll come back to my thoughts on that. But I think fundamentally, we need to create a structural issue where I think there are designers, there is industry, and there are the artisans. We have to work in tandem to create an ecosystem, because any country which has been successful in global markets has got right ecosystem. Take China in manufacturing, take France or Italy in designing. I mean, the number of designers, it's an aspirational industry to be in. I think you have to create that kind of an aspiration in the system. So I think, like Sukhet talked about it, there's a need for designers to work very closely with the artisans and the handloom guys to let them understand what the world needs. They keep creating and how the quality is important and how they can create value with better quality. And once they taste it, they will certainly change it. I think you have to, the hand-holding is required. Point which Rina made, I think it's very important that it's an economic game at the end of the day. I can't be a high-cost producer and still say, buy my stuff because I'm handloom guy. We have to bring technology to handloom sector to retain the uniqueness, but at the same time get the cost right and improve productivity. And that's where the industry gets into that. And third is the cultural issue, and that's where people like us have come into the play, the big brands.
Yes.
India has a very fragmented value chain. The weavers are small, there are millions of them. Now, a fragmented value chain cannot be consistent. So what we have done as each industry has to do it, we and my company have done it, we have got what we call strategic partners. And we have kind of integrated them as a part of our team. And we kind of upgrade their skills. We display their products globally into the global studios, get the world-class quality. I think we all have to take that responsibility. It's like a social movement. Otherwise, we'll keep talking about the problem, solution part.
Absolutely, I can empathize with the point about the fragmented value chain. I know of a particular product, a Badarwahi blanket, which is only produced in the district of Badarwa and is not available anywhere else in the country, and sourcing and getting that takes you a lot of time, and you have to know the right people to get the right quality. Rahul, do you want to step in before I want to go over? Okay, over to you, sir. Please introduce yourself and ask your question very briefly.
Yeah, I am T.K. Sengupta. I am the National President, Textile Association of India. My question is, as you have rightly said about, we are lacking particularly in the product development and innovation. Now, I've been to Bangladesh for last 3-4 months. I've been to thrice. I'm in Bangladesh. What I have seen, I have discussed with the H&M country head there, because Bangladesh is the hub of all the brand people that are sitting there. The whole world is sitting there in Bangladesh. Now, there I have discussed with the H&M people and also R-Stroll and other brand people. One of the areas which we are lacking, we are making the yarn only about maybe 2 or 3 blend. But nowadays, they want the blend of 5 to 6 different fibers and other, which we are lacking. Because unless and until we develop the yarn, now how we can produce that type of design and that type of quality of fabrics? The yarns are not available in our country. So that's the thing they have said all this.
You want to
The weavers I recently worked with, sadly Kota, they are getting Chinese yarns. Even in Banaras, the ones I interacted with.
I just think we are focusing on the wrong things. Due respect to you, sir, Bangladesh is already ahead of us. Like Sir said earlier, we don't need to compete with Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. We need to recognize our country's strength is in its handloom and weaving. And we need to, before we start even thinking about the yarn, we need to sort out the very elephant in the room is we need to sort out our systems. We are bad, we need labor reforms, even Abhijit Banerjee just said that. That's something that has been long pending. We missed the bus on the whole textile wave when the textile movement, the textile was slowing down in China. Which are the countries that took advantage of it? Vietnam, Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. What were we doing? We were snoozing. We were sleeping. And we were not sleeping because the governments were sleeping. We were sleeping because as people, we don't even realize what our potential is. We don't even know how many weaves there are and how many weavers there are. After agriculture, weaving and garment sector is the largest employer in this country. We don't know that. So, as people, we didn't realize there are much bigger things at play. Yes, once the industry kick starts, 5 blend, 10 blend का भी बन जाएगा सर. पहले industry तो शुरू हो जाए.
But to second you, sir,
Yeah.
5%.
Please use the mic.
5% of GST is there on thread now. So I do know that thread costs are high in India over other countries. So there is a lot of Chinese yarns they're using. I don't know about.
There'll be more higher import duties on Chinese
I don't know how they get it in their villages.
No, they do.
They,
They 5% I don't think is that high.
I'm coming.
It's fine.
Yeah, please.
I think the only point I am trying to make is again the role of technology, because getting 5 or 6 is no problem. I think I have acquired a company in Germany which makes 6 yarn knitting, and it's done on the same machine. It's the idea about what you want to do in life. Then you want to do it exactly.